but this was not fun. This was to the point of wanting to put myself into the ground in order to prove a point that I could lose this weight. My first regret when it came to my weight loss journey is going way too hard, way too fast. So let me explain. In the beginning of my journey, I needed to do everything in my power to try to lose as much weight as humanly possible as quickly as possible. It was like anything else in life, that if you go through a routine or you learn something, you can kind of power through it, kind of like a late night study session for an exam. And I felt like that's what needed to get done. I didn't need to ease into it. I just needed to go as fast as possible because I felt like I needed to achieve this goal. And the problem is that I didn't understand that my entire life I've been overweight. It's going to take me some time to lose the weight that I've had with me for my entire life. Essentially, that weight is me. I'm trying to shed myself. I don't know if it was through disgust or dismay or just trying to make it feel like I was shedding clothing. I felt like it just had to go at that moment. That feeling really pushed me to the point where I needed to do everything all the time. Instead of going into it and changing my diet or going through a regular routine or understanding the process, I did everything at once. It was an all or nothing situation, kamikaze style. That's what put me in a really, really bad situation, because if I'm all in firsthand, where do I have to go? Where can I go? So when I started, it was doing a bunch of cardio because my wife had just bought the Peloton, had to get used to the most of its potential. We didn't have that many weights starting off, but I did everything I could. Push-ups, crunches, anything that I could possibly do just to try to accelerate the process. And it got to a point where it was borderline obsessive. I had this distorted image of myself in my mind. I always understand that people can have fun with exercise, but this was not fun. This was to the point of wanting to put myself into the ground in order to prove a point that I could lose this weight. In the process of me doing that, I didn't gain anything. All I did was hurt myself. I had nowhere else to go. I was already doing massive amounts of cardio. And then even once we got a home gym in the house, I was lifting constantly to the point where I was working out 6 days a week for 4 hours at a time. I was only eating between 1,200 to 1,500 calories at my very lowest, which put me in a situation where I just didn't know what else I had to give, but I had to keep pushing because I had this thought process that I needed to be at a certain weight. And I felt like I had to achieve that no matter what. That going forward with this new weight loss journey, I need to understand that the time it took me to be the weight that I am, it's also going to take me time to lose the weight the right way, is to take it easy, work more on my nutrition, but also not punish myself in that nutrition, understanding there are meals that I can have. There are no off-limit situations. And also understand that I need to make exercise a part of my life, not my entire life, because I am a busy person. I do have work that I have to go to, so I have to make it work with me. The second thing I wish I would have known or regret is understanding that people's bodies are not robots. We're not calculations. We're not algorithms. We're not something to be solved. The body is a mystery, especially when it comes to weight loss. And of course, you'll hear a lot of things and you'll see a lot of things of calories in versus calories out, or eat less, move more. But that's not necessarily how it works. Your physical and your mental coincide hand in hand, where even if you work out as hard as you can physically, all it takes is a mental breakdown to completely throw you off the path. Me understanding that my body is not necessarily going to do the things I want it to do is a crucial thing for me to know. And I believe that in the beginning, I had this thought process that if I just worked out a lot and I ate nothing, that I would lose all this weight, and that's all you have to do is just eat less and move more. I mean, that's what everybody says. Eat a bunch of protein and work out more. And that's not the case. And I found that out very, very rapidly, that I kept getting to these plateaus. And every time I got to these plateaus, I tried to push harder with no avail. I didn't go anywhere. I distinctly remember getting to 260 pounds and just being stuck for weeks. I extremely remember 200 mark. It's almost devastating, where it put me to the point of tears, where I just didn't understand how much I could push, how much more I could give in order to break this plateau, to the point where I was doing 48, 72-hour fasts and still exercising at a massive amount just in order to break that plateau. And then I remember the worst thing of it all when I got to 170 pounds and it just felt like anything I ate immediately took me up to 175 or 180 pounds, or just one day of too much salt and me having water weight just broke me. And me trying to sustain that for so long is eventually what became my demise, because I just couldn't mentally understand why the body that I thought I was taking care of so much would betray me like that. I mean, it hurt nothing more than to work so hard to get to a point where you think your body is good, take a vacation, and then come back feeling absolutely defeated because you're 30 pounds heavier in 3 weeks. Now, of course, there's a lot of different factors that go into that: eating, lifestyle, salt, water retention. But at the end of the day, anybody can give you a number of excuses, but that scale will cut you deeper than the largest knife you've ever felt. And I feel like people don't talk about that enough. You know, everyone talks about losing weight and maintaining that weight, but that actual feeling of seeing that and it makes you feel that defeat, I think that's what hurts. And so going forward, now that I know that that's a thing on this journey, of course, I'm going to take it easy. And when I run into those plateaus, instead of me taking that as a personal defeat, I just have to understand it is what it is. That's how the body works. As I work out, as I get smaller, my metabolism will get slower. So it will take more effort for me to lose more weight. And then when I get into a place where I'm just in complete doubt, I just need to zoom out and look at my bigger picture. What is my goal? What am I trying to achieve here? Is it just a number on the scale? Or do I want to feel better about myself and the way I look? Do I want to be mentally healthier and not look at myself as something that I'm not? Do I want to be confident in the way I present myself to the world? Do I want to be confident to myself? And I think that's the biggest thing about understanding that the body is not logical, is exactly what it's doing. You're not always going to have complete control. Third thing I wish I would have known in the beginning of my journey, which kind of seems counterintuitive, but to not get rid of my clothing. So let me go into a little bit more detail about that, because that might seem kind of weird. The clothing that I had when I was 325 pounds, you know, my 4X, my 2X, my extra large, my size pants from 48 to 38, all my pants, all those things, as I lost weight, I got rid of them. And I felt like not only did that, it kind of made me feel better, but I also felt like it put some increased pressure on me to continue to perform, let me say. Meaning that I had to continue to lose weight, that there was no day that I could step back. There was no way that I could gain weight because I kept getting rid of those clothing. Now, there's a pro and a con to that. So on my first journey, once I lost the weight and I got to 170 pounds, it was an amazing feeling to actually be able to buy clothing. All my life, I've always had to buy oversized clothing. When I was a child, once I got into my teenage years, I'm buying adult size clothing, you know. Even when I was supposed to be in kids' clothes, I was in adults' clothes because I was overweight. As I got older, it got to the point where I was buying clothes from specialty stores. I never got to the 6X, 7X point, but yes, it did get to the point where I was buying from big and tall stores. And that always made me feel unincluded because I couldn't just go somewhere and go shopping. I couldn't buy the same clothes my friends were buying because they wore normal sizes and I did not. Back then, a lot of brands didn't really carry clothing through all the sizes. It probably went to extra large, but if you wanted 2X, 3X, you have to get something completely different. And that's something that I dealt with my entire life. So once I actually lost the weight and I was around 170 pounds, 180 pounds, I could actually buy normal size clothing, which was like the greatest achievement I've ever had. Even when I went on vacation and I went to the Philippines, in Asia, all the clothes are small. And the first time I went there, I couldn't fit anything that they had. But when I went there and I had lost the weight, nothing felt better than me to be in a situation where my shirt was completely messed up and I could just pop into a store and buy a shirt. It might seem like something so small, but that gave me the largest gratification that I've ever had when buying clothing. To know that no one's looking at you strangely, no one's looking at you oddly. They're not trying to find stuff for you in the back. I just bought something off the rack. And I think that was the devastating part for me when I started to gain weight, because even in my own closet, there was nothing on the rack. And that hurt, because in my own home, I didn't have clothes that fit me because I gained 15 pounds, because I got rid of all those clothing. So what that did was just put this enormous amount of pressure on me to try to work out to fit the clothes that I had. But all that did was cause more and more depression and desperation, which caused more panic, which made me make more mistakes. And that's what led to me gaining more and more weight, because it created a vicious cycle of desperation and depression, buying clothes, and then immediately not fitting those clothes, which started the cycle of desperation and depression. And I believe that if I would have had my clothing, I would have been able to stop that cycle. Because I would have been able to say in my own home, I still have clothes on the rack. Yes, I might be going up a size, but I can completely understand that it's still within my control. I can go down a size and not feeling that sense of desperation. And nothing hurt more than the fact that when seasons changed, I didn't even have the ability to dress for the season. I had to buy new clothes all over again. And in the experience of buying expensive clothing from specialty shops, I mean, if you're overweight or if you've been overweight, you know exactly how it feels. Nothing hurts more than having to pay $50, $60 for a t-shirt, knowing good and well somebody can get the same shirt for $10. Not only does it hurt you emotionally, but it hurts you financially. And having to do that a second time just makes it that much worse. So on this journey, or this go around, I'm going to keep my clothing. So that way I understand that stepping back is not failure. I just understand that I can step back so I can continue to move forward. I think that's the biggest thing I learned when it came to that step.